Hello, everyone. Welcome to the April meeting of the City of Binghamton Planning Commission. My name is Nick Corcoran. I'm currently the chairman of this commission, which is comprised of local community members tasked with reviewing site plans and special use permits for consistency with the standards and criteria set forth in the City of Binghamton Code. Based on our total number of planning commission members, 4 members must be present to constitute a quorum. Tonight, we do have 4 members, which means we do have a quorum and can proceed. First item on our agenda is roll call. Mario DeFulvio is not here tonight. Joseph D'Angelo is also not here tonight. Chris Judgeets.
Here I am, rock you like a hurricane.
All right. Kelly Weiss.
Present.
Manny Priest is also absent tonight, and Steve C. Prasad. All right. So there's 4, which constitutes a quorum. All right. Second item on our agenda is the approval of the March minutes. Anybody have any omissions or revisions?
Yeah, Nick, I just want to have maybe the minutes amended to reflect that Dr. Juliet Burling, the director of planning, was not in attendance at the March meeting.
All right. Sounds good. Any other questions, comments, errors? All right, if there aren't any motions,
I'll move to approve the minutes as amended.
all right, motion by Chris, second by Steve, all in favor? All right, that's 4 in favor, 0 opposed. All right. Next item on our agenda are seeker determinations. So in this portion of our meeting, the Planning Commission will be reviewing documentation provided by applicants for the first time. The applicants will be called to the microphone where they will be asked to make a presentation describing their plans to the commission. Commission members may then ask questions of the applicant to clarify any items that are unclear. After all questions have been answered, the commission will deliberate and then either set a public hearing date for the project or request additional information before proceeding. To all our applicants that will be presenting tonight, we ask that you please state your name and address for our records before beginning your presentation. And we ask that any member of your team who will be speaking, please give their name and address for our public record. All right, tonight, our first seeker determination is for the applicant Hamza Khan. Project address is 13 Main Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit to establish a retail food sales facility in an existing commercial building and a recommendation to City Council to allow the sale of tobacco within 500 feet of a school in the C1 Service Commercial District. All right, welcome.
Okay, now it's good.
And then get real
All right.
close to that microphone.
Yeah. So here for 13 Main Street and looking for permission to do a retail store with tobacco and take out food in it with grocery. I just want to do a one-stop shop for that side of Binghamton, across the bridge. I know there's some over here on this side of CVS is closed down and a lot of stores are closed down. So I just want to do a one-stop shop.
All right. All right, and do you own the building or you're
I
renting?
do not own the building.
Okay,
I'm
you're
leasing
good.
the property.
And Tito, there's no parking requirement for this?
It's an existing building under 4,000 square feet.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, so I see here that there's going to be a requirement that you're going to need to get approval to be able to sell tobacco products because you're within 500 feet of the Binghamton High School.
Yes, sir.
If you do not get the permission,
Yes.
are you still setting up shop or are you going to not if you can't sell tobacco?
I'll be hesitant to because a lot nowadays, the labor rate is so high. There's other factors that contribute to, fulfilling a store. So I can't just depend on one thing to run my store. It would be better. It'd be easier for everyone to, allow for tobacco sale, at least to cover costs. There's rent. There's a lot of factors that go into a business. So I just wanted to, have a little bit of help.
So maybe the second question is this: why should we grant an exception for this store
Yes.
since it's within the 500 feet
Uh,
of a school.
There's other stores that are selling tobacco anyways. There's Speedway down the block, Sunoco is selling it. There's Family Dollar that's selling it. I'm no exception. Those are big companies. I can't compete with them, but I'm a local resident of Binghamton, and you know, I would take precautions of selling tobacco, but I think everyone else is doing it, and would be a little bit of help for the local community, for a business owner.
Are those other locations within 500 feet of Binghamton High School?
The main thing is that the legislation passed, I want to say 2014. So those other locations were selling tobacco before the legislation passed. Correct. And the objective of the legislation was to stop sales within school zones from spreading. It couldn't stop existing retailers from selling a licensed product because they already had that state tobacco license.
And I had a note in, if I could throw it in there. If I do get the approval, I'm not willing to sell tobacco during school hours. There's lockers that could be locked away. Tobacco products could be locked away. Like these, similar to these, you could lock them away during school hours. And I would only be selling tobacco products after. Yeah, after school hours, I'll be selling tobacco, not during school hours.
All right. And no other improvements to the outside of the building.
No, I think all the improvements were done before
Okay.
by the owner of the building.
Gotcha. All right, any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, so I'm only one vote, and we're not voting tonight about the project. It'll move on to probably for a public hearing, but
Okay.
I'm just gonna check and see how committed you are to this, because when they came and presented and went through the process of getting that rule in place, that legislation passed.
Yeah.
They were very passionate about 500 feet, making that a restriction.
Sure.
And there were a lot of people involved in figuring out what the right distance was and pushing that legislation through.
Yes.
I certainly am not inclined to change that or to grant an exception. So I would be a no for the tobacco sales. I think your plan is great. I think, yeah, absolutely. I think without the tobacco sales, for me, I'm a yes. You get approval when it comes to that point. But if it requires my vote or my recommendation to city council would be an absolute no against the tobacco sales within 500 feet. I'm just one person and you got other people, but if anybody else wants to weigh in on that.
I would also be a no, only because of the tobacco and the others. So, I would be really happy for you to go forward, and I understand that's difficult, but.
All right.
I would be inclined against it as well, and it was helpful to get the context because I had noticed the distance from Family Dollar to the high school and the 5-Star and Speedway. They're all very close by. But understanding that those are grandfathered in, and the intent of the law is that we don't want any new vendors to offer this up, but I would be inclined against it for that reason.
All right.
I'm also inclined to not recommend this to city council for approval.
Okay.
But Tito, can you weigh in? So it's not our decision. Ultimately, the tobacco sales, that comes to a city council ruling.
Correct. So you would just be voting on the site plan and the land use, and then the tobacco issue would be a recommendation to city council. City council ultimately has the authority to say yes or no.
Okay.
Quick question. So if I don't do the tobacco in this particular area, I do have the approval without tobacco.
It's, well, there are a majority of the members here and they all, it was sort of a straw poll, it's not an official vote, but it sounds like they would.
Okay,
Yeah, what we just did right there, that's not official
Okay.
approval. It's just the preliminary so that you don't waste your time.
yes,
If like you said, tobacco is a deal breaker.
okay,
We don't want you to waste your time to come back for another meeting and then it ultimately gets shot down.
okay,
But I think it's clear, it's very important that we don't make that final decision. You would have to go to city council and they would make that final decision.
okay,
And we have no idea what they would say. Maybe they would be in favor of changing that rule or giving you the granting the exception. But I think it's pretty clear that our recommendation to city council would be to not approve tobacco sales.
tobacco sales, okay.
All right, but we can go forward with your project.
Yes.
Just the general overview of what you've presented as far as a convenience store and
Yes,
does anybody have any issues with the layout of the building or anything with the plan as a convenience store? Okay,
okay,
all right. So I'll make a motion. Just one question, Tito. So if, so this is a type 2 or is an unlisted action for seeker because of the tobacco sales? Okay. It's better to just do it as a type 2 or as an unlisted action. And if tobacco goes away, it doesn't matter. Okay. All right, so make a motion that the action is a type 2 or is an unlisted action under seeker and that the planning commission should be the lead agency for review. All right, second by Chris, all in favor? All right, that's 4 in favor, 0 opposed. And I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing for the project at 5:20 at our May meeting. All right, second by Steve, all in favor? 4 in favor, 0 opposed. All right, so if you come back in May, there'll be a public hearing where we'll open it up. People can come and speak for, against, however they feel about the project. If it continues to include the tobacco, I would anticipate a large contingency of people that would probably come to speak
yeah,
negatively, but
okay,
that's ultimately, that's up to you what you want to do, but
yeah.
but-
So let's see, I'll talk to Tito tomorrow and then we'll
Good.
go from there,
that sounds great.
okay?
right.
Thank you, guys,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, our next seeker determination is for the applicant Blue Water Capital Group. The project address is 14 Ayres Street, 77 Chapin Street, and 63 Murray Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit to convert 4 existing residential buildings into 4 separate congregate living facilities with 7 bedrooms at 14 Ayres Street, 6 bedrooms at 77 Chapin Street, and 6 bedrooms at 63 Murray Street in the R3 multi-unit dwelling district.
If I could just, I put a note in base camp, 22 Ayres Street is not part of this application anymore. That's noted in the staff report, but you can disregard that part.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Who are you guys?
Yes, my name is Matthew Carcone. Great to meet you, Planning Commission Board, met Tito and Hamza before. I'm here with Ethan, we're working with that pyramid brokerage. These guys have been great. And yeah, we're here for the congregate living approval. For the properties, with the exception that Tito mentioned, we're not, with the exception of 22 Ayres Street. So it's 3 other properties at 77 Chapin, 14 Ayres Street, as well as 63 Murray Street. And all within the R3 zone is my understanding.
All right.
Just a little bit of background on it. We've been marketing these properties and we do have these properties under contract. As part of that contract, the contingency is that we do get the congregate living approvals to verify that these are all legal bedrooms and that we have the parking for that requirement. So we're optimistic and eager to work with you guys to hopefully get this accomplished.
All right.
So like we did with the previous applicant, so worst case scenario, you don't get approval, what happens?
The deal will not go through without approvals. So unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna expand on that. Yeah, I mean, the deal wouldn't go through. I mean, we've also, and I think Tito and Hamza are aware of this, but we, the planning commission and zoning a few weeks ago, we're under contract for both the 34 Court Street building, so the CBS building, as well as for the 89 Perry. As we're trying to consolidate, we need to actually sell these properties to be able to reinvest in those and free up the necessary cash to actually do it. But yeah, so that's what's kind of, I guess.
All right. Do you mind weighing in? So this just looks like buildings that are not compliant that you're basically asking for. Not, I don't want to say forgiveness, but were you involved in carving them up into the current layouts?
No,
So
no,
You purchased them and then found out that they're not compliant
yes,
and you're coming in for kind of a retroactive.
we are. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, can you talk to us about parking?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Trevor. We hired Halbert Engineering to go ahead and do the surveys for us. And I have some notes here from Halbert. Taking the city's findings that I received yesterday, I see that we have a couple different properties with some additional green space that we could potentially pave, and I think we're more than willing to do that. We do have I have a couple questions. I could go row by row. Obviously, I'm looking at 14 Ayres Street. We've got 7 parking spots required. We've only got 1 that we can provide there, which we understand. We don't have any other green space at that location. But we're fortunate because we do have 2 other properties in close proximity within 250 feet of 14 Ayres Street. One of which is 77 Chapin Street, and we've got 6 required. And we've got 1 that is provided by asphalt driveway. And then there's the gravel lot in the rear, which is not a compliant parking surface, but after speaking with the owners, they're more than willing to entertain paving that to create a parking surface that is compliant. Gravel area should be paved to fit 6 9x18 spaces, which is fantastic. And I did take a look at the notes that I received from Halbert Engineering, and they had actually described to me that they assumed that 10 cars might be able to be placed there. And I didn't know if you had the opportunity to look at that or not to see. I assumed that they were saying, hey, just park 6, create paving for 6 vehicles there. But if we could create 10, we would certainly do that to accommodate the parking that we're trying to fit at 14 Ayres Street. And then also, I did have one question. We have 63 Murray Street. We have 6 spaces required there. We've got 3 provided. And the one question that I did have, does that take the garages into consideration?
So the three compliant spaces is the 3-bay garage.
Okay. So we've got some additional land there as well that could potentially be paved. So I mean, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Tito, is that acceptable to pave the, if I remember correctly, on the side of the property? But I understand that the cars cannot be parked one behind one another, right, stacked. And so they need to be side by side. If memory serves me right, and Trevor, you can correct me, but is there grass on the left-hand side as you're looking behind the property?
Yes, yep. And those findings were provided by the city as well. We've got 3 cars parked in the photo provided by the city.
Does Tito have this picture too?
They should.
Okay, so Tito, so as I'm looking at this picture, so I see the 3 cars from the left one or the white one on the left, going to that little SUV. So that's on the side of the property. Now in the back where the bay doors are, I think there's 3. Would that be an allowable parking spaces, or would that be, would we be able to accommodate the parking there?
I think if you were to have your designer draw 9x18
Mhm.
spaces with with adequate, backup space, drive aisles behind those spaces, then you could submit that and then those spaces could be applied to, the pool of parking. But I'd have to see that, or the commission would have to see that on the drawing.
I would strongly encourage a drawing to be submitted
Okay,
before next month.
now, so we understand how these meetings go where, you guys meet monthly. Obviously the time crunch that we're on is that we have a buyer that's, held out thus far, has been willing to, sort of give us a couple months to work through whole board engineering, attend this meeting. And so I guess the question is, on one of them, I noticed that, let's see here. So I'm looking at 63 Murray Street specifically. It says if parking cannot be provided on site, it must be provided within 250 feet, or a parking waiver must be requested for 3 spaces. So would we be able to request a parking waiver? Or how does that work?
Yes, you could request that we as a planning commission would waive the requirement for have a full 6 and only needed 3. I'll speak for myself. I'd want to have a good reason, not just because you want the waiver. And I won't speak for anybody else other than myself. I am generally opposed to granting waivers unless there's some real amazing reason. Because I hear enough from constituents in these areas that are tired of college kids' cars all over the street causing chaos.
Yes, so for this particular, the process here would be, you're here today for your first meeting. We would schedule a public hearing for the next meeting and potentially you would get approvals at that meeting. So between now and that next meeting, you would have to submit those plans showing the layouts. And then potentially you could get a contingent approval if there were changes that were needed. But the best thing would be nothing gets.
No, I understand. We just want to be, and yeah, we just want to, work with you guys. We're obviously here, and my brother and I are down here from DC. So, we just wanted to make sure that we can make best use of our time. I appreciate you bringing up the contingency, right? And I'm not expecting it, but that sounds good. But in terms of like the drawings though, is that a professional architect or engineer drawings that we would need for that, like from Hulbert Engineering? Or how would you guys recommend that we go about that?
It would have to be drawn to scale.
Sure.
It does not have to be a stamped drawing.
So can we use the surveys that they did for us? We just want to, okay. Does that give the full layout of the property? Guys, would that be acceptable if we use the layout that Hulbert provided to draw on?
We have 4 surveys done by Hulbert. Have them drop some lines on them to know where parking can go. Is that what you're specifically looking for?
What?
I don't want to back. No, certainly.
No.
We did hire that 136.
Yeah, I think
Understandable.
Hulbert would be willing to do that for
Yeah, it
us.
should be easy for them. They already did the survey, so they should be able to drop lines on pretty good. As long as we can prove to the buyer that this is achievable, we'll be good to go. It's just, we're in a world where the interest rates continue to rise, which affect the viability of the deal. And obviously, we'd love to see great projects happen in downtown as well, but this is a key component to making that happen. So that'd be incredibly helpful. We really appreciate it.
Okay. So then going back, based on the parking requirements, so it got a little confusing there. So let's do them one at a time. So 14 Ayres Street, you have 7 required parking spaces. What do you think is realistic to be able to get at 14 Ayres Street?
At that location, we're only going to be able to accommodate 1. So we will need to accommodate 6 other parking spots at one of the 2 other locations, either 77 Chapin, 63 Murray, or potentially even 22 Ayres Street.
All right, and are you within those properties are within 250 feet of,
According to
14.
Halbert Engineering, yes.
okay. All right, so then 77 Chapin Street, 6 required. What do you think realistically you could get there?
According to Halbert Engineering, they were under the impression that we could get 10 cars in that back lot if we were able to pave the entire lot.
Okay. So you can meet your parking requirement there, and 63 Murray, looks like you could get all of them at 63 Murray.
Yeah, Halbert Engineering believed that we would be able to get 3 in the garages and then an additional 4 cars parked on the lot. So a total of 7 at that location.
Okay,
So that would be 10, 7, and 1.
all right.
So I think we're going to be 1 shy.
And I'm guessing based on the survey that you're gonna have to provide additional pavement in some sections to make that happen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're okay with that? That's, if that's part of the requirement?
Yeah, because right now it's gravel and yes, we were expecting that we'd have to pave it. I heard about this new requirements, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So then, yeah, so on your plans that he's gonna prepare for you, can you just show what's new, what's getting overlaid, what's, yeah, where the stripes are? Yeah. Chris?
This is a technical question for Tito and others on City Hall staff. So if we approve for the applicants next month, they come with a set of these drawings and they're going to be juggling some of these cars around different properties. How are we, in theory, going to be potentially approving this? Because what happens if in 5 years, 14 Ayres is now sold to yet a new person? Are they going to have claims on random parking spots by the previous owner at these other locations on Murray and Chapin? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so they would have to provide some documentation showing that those spaces are to be made available going forward.
I just have a question in regards to the contingency. Could you explain that further again? If there was any way that we could prove to our buyer that this is capable, that we're capable of doing this, that would be greatly beneficial for us. I just don't know what the contingency process looks like, or if there's documentation that says, hey, show us that you can do this, and then you're within bounds. And it's only out of my own ignorance. I'm just curious.
Sure. So if you update those drawings and have them to Tito by the next meeting, then in theory, just you get an outright approval at the next meeting based on what's there. If you provide those and then at the next meeting, we think there's things that need to be changed, it's possible you could get a contingent approval at that meeting
Okay.
based on you revising whatever we come up with as far as what needs to be revised and submitted to Tito for approval. That's not right.
And maybe the
To
other
the planning
answer
department.
is, if
Planning
you need
department.
an answer sooner, you have the potential buyer watch whatever video is going to be posted on the city website so they can see that we're serious in considering this deliberation, even though we're not voting on anything officially tonight.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we're not looking for sooner. So like the soonest would be next meeting, fully clear on that. We needed something to go back to the buyer with. Because they've been pretty good about this. So yeah, totally understand. Appreciate that though. Thanks, guys.
All right. All right, any questions, concerns about the layout of the building at all?
For some reason, it's taking a while to load up. I see the blue bar going across the screen, trying to get the staff report because I had a Google Street View of 63 Murray up on my screen here and made me think of a comment that was in the staff report that I thought I remembered seeing there about paving the driveway and the resulting slopage and surface combination resulting in like stormwater going in the street, that there is some concern about that. I don't know what could be done to mitigate that, but just something that stuck out to me.
If I could just point out that as the applicant is looking at providing more parking on these sites, there is a maximum lot coverage regulation. So there is a maximum amount of each lot that could be paved or built on. So that's something that and we could talk about this more during the week, but that's something that you'll have to consider as you're, planning on expanding the paving. I think the comment you're referring to is that the planning commission should weigh the need for parking at these properties against what it could do to neighborhood character and environmentally with stormwater to overpave, for lack of a better word. So that's what that comment was.
Okay.
And that's in the context of considering whether or not to waive some of the spaces. So you could waive 2 or 3 spaces in order to avoid paving an entire lot.
In general, are these student rentals?
In general, they are. Yes.
And you've owned them for how long?
We've owned them for the longest one, I think, for 9 years.
90.
I mean, my brother and I actually lived at 64 Murray Street, junior and senior year back in 2007 and 8.
Okay.
And we bought our first property in Binghamton in 2009, but like that's actually why we bought the property across the street. We knew the older woman next door and that's what we bought 63 Murray Street. And so, yeah, I mean, we've owned them for quite a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that history, every person that's in the house usually has a car.
I mean, not every time. I mean, it depends, right? If you get a bunch of, people from, it depends on how rural the area is that they come from. If they come from Queens or any of the boroughs in New York City, probably not. If they come from Long Island, New Jersey, other areas of upstate New York, possibly, right? And so it just depends. I would say that typically maybe 80% of the kids roughly in the houses have cars, so 75 to 80%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe that's, if you're not able to get the full parking requirement, maybe that percentage is an interesting argument over
Okay.
not providing one of the spaces or whatever.
Okay.
Just a
Yeah,
thought.
yeah. Thank you.
All
Are
right.
these going to remain student rentals under the next buyer if this goes through?
So, I mean, I'm not positive. I imagine that it may, I'm not sure. I can tell you what we're planning on doing, at least for those 2 buildings downtown, which we talked to the city about, is market rate housing. Because it wouldn't make sense for us to do anything else, to be honest. We're looking at the price per square foot for student housing versus non-student. And so, yeah, at least for those 2 buildings, but for these houses, I imagine the next buyer may possibly have students. I'm not positive though.
All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, if not, I'll make a motion that the proposal involves the reuse of existing residential buildings, which is a type 2 action under seeker, and no further environmental review is required. All right, second by Kelly, all in favor? All right, 4 in favor, 0 opposed. And I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing for this project at 5:25 at our May meeting. All right, second by Chris, all in favor? All right, 4 in favor, 0 opposed. All right, we'll see you back in May.
Thanks everyone for your time today. Thanks,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, so that concludes seeker determinations. So we're on to public hearings and final deliberations. One note about this before I read off the info about public hearings. If anybody is here in regards to the applicant Addiction Center of Broome County with the project address being 15 Charles Street, which was a site plan review and special use permit to convert the basement of an existing mixed-use building to social services use, warming station. The applicant has asked us to table their project for tonight, so they're not going to be here to present. But if anybody is here to speak about the project, because it was advertised, we will still allow people to speak about the project, but most likely the applicant will be back next month, a following month. And if you felt like it was better to speak when they were actually here, we just wanted to let you know that they're not going to be here for the to present their project tonight. Just in case anybody is here for 15 Charles Street. All right. All right, so now we're on to public hearings. In this portion of our meeting, we'll be holding open public hearings to obtain public opinion in regard to specific projects that are up for review. Applicants will be asked to come to the microphone and make a brief presentation describing their project. For most projects, this is the second time we're reviewing your information, so it would be very helpful if you could please give us a brief overview of your project to remind us what you're planning, and then clearly identify any changes that have been made since the last time we saw you. When the applicant is done presenting and any clarifications have been reviewed, we will open the public hearing and allow members of the community to speak about the applicant's proposal. After the commission has heard from all community members interested in speaking tonight, the public hearing will be closed and the commission will deliberate. To our applicants, when your project name is called, please come to the microphone and start off by giving the name and address of any members of the applicant's team that is planning to speak. And to anyone from the community that will be speaking in regard to a project tonight, please also start off by stating your name and address for our records. All right, tonight, our first public hearing is for the applicant Vintage Auto Imports LLC. Project address is 30 Charlotte Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit to establish vehicle sales in an existing industrial building in the I-2 light and medium industrial district. Welcome back.
Hello, thank you for seeing me again. My name is Michael Bagravandian. I am representing Vintage Auto Imports LLC. I was here last month. I applied to take some space at 30 Charlotte Street and turn it into a licensed motor vehicle dealer, specializing on importing cars that were never sold in the American market, and being a retail seller of used vehicles.
All right. Any changes since last meeting?
There have been no changes since the last meeting, other than anticipation.
All right. All right, any questions, comments before we open a public hearing? No? All right, if you don't mind just taking a stand off to the side while we do the public hearing. And then we'll have you come back over. All right, so this is the public hearing for the applicant Vintage Auto Imports LLC. The project address is 30 Charlotte Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit to establish vehicle sales in an existing industrial building in the I-2 light and medium industrial district. If there's anybody that would like to speak about the project, please come to the microphone. All right, and we did not receive any letters or
No,
emails,
no comments.
no comments through the planning department. All right, well, seeing nobody approaching the microphone, we'll close the public hearing. If you can come back up. Super controversial project tonight.
I think so.
All right. Anything? All right. All right, then I'll make a motion that the proposal involved the reuse of an existing non-residential building, which was a type 2 action, so that no further environmental review was required. And that the requirements for site plan review and special use permit have been met. All right, second by Kelly, all in favor? All right, 4 in favor, 0 opposed. All right,
Thank you.
you're welcome. When can somebody buy their first car from that location?
Okay, good point. When we get approval from the DMV and we're fully inspected and everything's approved, and then I really hope that we sell cars and do good business.
All right. All right. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. All right. Our next public hearing tonight is for the applicant Henry Street Preferred LLC. Attention, John Tager. Project address is 108 Henry Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit for the conversion of an existing residential building into 15 units with 44 total bedrooms, including the construction of a rear addition and the resurfacing of an ancillary parking area in the C4 neighborhood commercial district. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Mark Parker, Stone Associates, 58 Stain Street. Sorry.
You got to get right up against that
Right up
microphone.
there. Okay. And we are back here again. I do want to point out, you pretty much read what the project was about. We brought a display board. Since we were here, 239 comments came back with identifying some discrepancies in the rooms, and so we have took their advice. We have put on the plans the number of units per floor and the number of bedrooms per floor as well. And it's correct in the announcement of 15 rooms and 44 bedrooms. That discrepancy caused us to have less parking last time. So we modified the parking to meet the requirement parking for the 44 bedrooms. And that was the only change that we've made. I don't think any changes were done on the, so that's where we are.
All right. Did you need variances?
We do have to come back for a setback variance,
Setback.
an area variance for setback.
Okay.
That was granted at the, they're not granted at the March meeting?
I don't
I'll
think
have to
so.
double
I think
check.
that, yeah. The 14th. I think we're just over the 33%, right? The 33% reduction. I don't think we meet that, but if you want to grant that, that's great. We won't bother coming back.
Either way, the planning commission, I'm gonna look, I'm assuming they would know if they were here or not at the ZBA meeting, but I'm gonna double check. But either way, the planning commission can grant site plan approval subject to the granting of the variance at a later date if you think it's appropriate.
Okay. All right. All right, any questions, comments before we open the public hearing? All right, we're going to open a public hearing for this. All right, so this is the public hearing for Henry Street Preferred LLC. The project address is 108 Henry Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit for the conversion of an existing residential building into 15 units with 44 total bedrooms, including the construction of a rear addition and the resurfacing of an ancillary parking area in the C4 neighborhood commercial district. If there's anyone who would like to speak about the project, please come to the microphone. All right, and we did not receive any emails or letters for this one.
No, we got a call asking a question, but she had no comment once we answered the question of this on the site plan.
All right. All right, seeing nobody approaching the microphone, we will close the public hearing for 108 Henry Street. Have a seat. All right, any last questions, comments? Mind if I borrow these? All right. So seeing no other comments or questions, I'll make a motion that this is a negative or a motion for a negative declaration under seeker based on the following. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or rezoning regulation? No or small impact. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use of or intensity of use of land? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkways? No or small impact. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies, public or private wastewater treatment utilities? No or small impact. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No or small impact. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No. So based on those items, I'll make a motion for a negative declaration. All right, second by Steve, all in favor? All right, that's 4 in favor, 0 opposed. And I'll make a motion that the requirements for site plan review and special use permit have been met. All right, second by Kelly, all in favor? 4 in favor, 0 opposed. All right,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Good luck. I got you. All right, so our next public hearing is for the applicant William Durham. Project address is 174 Clinton Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit for the establishment of a retail cannabis business, delivery only in an existing commercial space in the C4 neighborhood commercial district. Welcome back.
Back. How you doing?
You're back. All right.
William Durham, 115 Park Ave, Binghamton.
All right. Anything changed since the last meeting?
No, not with this project.
All right. Not with this project,
Not
but
with
in life in general,
Yeah,
things
really
have
busy,
changed.
really busy.
All right.
A good thing.
Did you get married?
Oh, no, not me. My
Oh.
uncle got married though.
Your uncle. All right.
I just hung out with him.
Completely none of my business, but
all good.
all right. Any questions or comments about this project? No? All right, we're going to open a public hearing and see if anybody's here to speak about it. All right, so this is the public hearing for the applicant William Durham. Project address is 174 Clinton Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit for the establishment of a retail cannabis business, delivery only in an existing commercial space in the C4 neighborhood commercial district. Anyone who's here to speak about the project, please come to the microphone. Excellent. At least we're going to get one person speaking tonight.
Giovanni Sparingi, 189 Matthew Street. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, commissioners, city staff. Thank you so much for all you do. Without getting too much on a substantive level with respect to the state level laws that have passed with respect to not just medical marijuana use and medicinal related purposes, and now, of course, recreational marijuana use, I am going to publicly speak not in favor of this. The reality of it is there's quite a bit of research in the body of the literature with respect to what is referred to statistically as dispensary effects on the impact of safety, crime, and drug use in local neighborhoods, as well as having a pretty correlative relationship with respect to increases in hospitalizations. I would draw you all to a study that is done on PubMed Central with an original data set that goes all the way back from 2001 through 2012 that was published in 2015. That'll give you quite a bit of information on that. The negative impact, particularly with respect to the geographic location of the commercial zoning and the closeness to R1 residential neighborhoods, particularly with an area that is has a high level of families and young children that attend Woodrow Wilson Elementary School. And I can tell you that I know in my neighborhood, as well as in a number of neighborhoods, this is not something that neighbors and I have had positive relationships with, as well as a positive sense of, I will tell you, even on a personal level, I used to do a lot of running down on Clinton Street, which I can't do anymore because, quite frankly, the increased ease of access with respect to marijuana, quite frankly, makes the entire business and neighborhood corridor in the immediate area, quite frankly, unbreathable and unattainable. And so I am going to respectfully put on the record that I would speak against this. And I thank you for the opportunity, for the business owner, Mr. Chairman, and commissioners for your time. Appreciate you.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else? Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Mary Ann Callahan. I live at 40 Elm Street in Binghamton. That is in the first ward, a couple of blocks away from Clinton Street. My parents bought the house in 1964, and needless to say, it was a much different neighborhood back then. But one of the things, and I don't know a lot about this gentleman's project, but one of the things I'm concerned about is that I live around suspected drug dealers. I live around people who have changed the nature of our neighborhoods completely with illegal activity. And I also know that Clinton Street is not the vibrant street it used to be. There are a lot of places where nobody's looking. And it seems that such a shop in such a place would not be conducive to revitalizing what we hope to revitalize in the first ward. It is probably not a bad thing to happen. But on Clinton Street, it is something that does not need and should not happen. It is already a place that is counter. In fact, I know parents who will not let their kids play outside anymore. In my neighborhood, it's heartbreaking. And unfortunately, bringing this kind of business in rather than maybe a more traditional one is not the direction in which I think many of the residents of that area would want to go. So unfortunately, I also would like to join my friend and speak against this project. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Anybody else who'd like to speak about the project? All right. Any letters about this one? All right. No letters received. All right. Seeing nobody else approaching the microphone, we'll close the public hearing for this. Okay. So it's, you get your opportunity to respond to anything that was said if you want.
Share some concerns or the neighborhood.
Or just grab the, no. Wait. You don't have to address that. Just the microphone. Just grab the microphone.
Local businessman, so I kind of actually share the same neighborhood. Me and my wife own the hair salon in the area for probably over 15, maybe longer. We do own a couple properties in the area as well. So we do share the same concerns as far as the decline of what we see all around, not just Clinton Street. It seems like a lot of different cities, a lot of different places. You say you don't know a lot about the project. It's not a location where people will be showing up. And honestly, there won't be really any difference in the area except for cars leaving from the location as far as delivery goes. Really, that's it. I mean, there's not any activity going on in the area. There's no smoking or anything allowed, or, it's not really that type of establishment.
Right. Okay. Yeah, actually, do you mind just refreshing? It's just delivery. There's
So yeah,
just cars.
it's just a storage location. That's all it is. So
Yep.
it'll be
Okay.
set up to look more like an office at the location. You know, we'll do as much as we need to as far as security goes. Right now, I have armed guards at my other location. I'm willing to do that in the future, depending on how the situation is. I'm here to protect the neighborhood as well, so I've done it in the past.
All right. Yeah, so nobody's arriving at the store buying
No,
anything
not
right
at
from
all.
the store.
Not at all.
It's not even a store, real.
It's not a store at all.
Okay, perfect. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns? All right, seeing no other questions or comments. I'll make a motion. So at the last meeting, we determined that this was a type 2 action under seeker because it's involves the reuse of an existing mixed use building. So I'll make a motion that the requirements for site plan review and special use permit have been met. All right, second by Steve, all in favor? All right, that's 4 in favor, 0 opposed. All right,
Thank you.
good luck.
Appreciate it.
All right. All right, so our last public hearing tonight is for the applicant Addiction Center of Broome County. Project address is 15 Charles Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit to convert the basement of an existing mixed use building to social services use / warming station in the I-1 Urban Business Park District. The applicant is not going to be here tonight. They asked us to table the project, but because it was advertised and the public hearing remained open, I believe, from last time, we will allow anybody to speak about the project if they're interested to. So anybody interested in speaking about the 15 Charles Street project, please come to the microphone. What's that?
Until next month. Yep.
Yeah.
Giovanni Scaringi, 189 Matthew Street. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Mr. Chairman, will there be a public hearing at the next month's meeting when they come back as well?
Yes, so we've asked them to provide additional information, so it would be appropriate to leave the public hearing open tonight into the next meeting and then let anybody speak who's interested at the next meeting. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I'll keep my comments brief this evening. Again, I appreciate the opportunity, obviously, for letting members of the public speak on this. At this time, I'm going to withhold any substantive comments that I have with respect to. There were a number of homeowners and residents, as well as small business owners that were here that obviously, in light of not the commission's fault, but that the entity asked for an additional month. But I just wanted to publicly get on the record that I felt that considering this outside entity is looking to come into our neighborhood, that respectfully, the onus should be on them to make their case first, while not having the opportunity to hear any public comment a month ahead of time prior to them doing that. So I just wanted to thank all of you for taking the opportunity to review this and giving us the opportunity to provide public feedback. And I definitely will be here next month on that. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else interested in speaking about 15 Charles Street?
Just wanted to mention, we did get 3 letters in opposition from Wolf, Salamita, and Rogers. And I'd also like to point out that when a case is tabled and the public hearing is left open, we typically do not redo the public notice. And so I just want to sort of put that out there in case anyone is watching on YouTube. There will be a public hearing at next month's meeting, but letters will not be sent out again.
All right. Steve?
Was there a specific reason they wanted to table? Is it just gathering more information, or do you think they're going to change the application in any way?
The reason they gave was that they wanted to gather more information. I think someone requested information on the potential impacts to surrounding areas in other cities. Or data from other cities. I believe that's the information that they're trying to gather.
This is just me. It kind of seems unfair that they get to table it, but then we don't, give an update for public hearing people. It just seems like they might be able to dodge a bullet a little bit because people thought, well, it's already passed. I don't know that I can come back and do this. It's,
As a commission member, can I request that we remail?
I don't see why not.
yeah,
I'd like to make that request.
Okay,
I
So
would
that way,
second it.
all
Yeah.
the people who
Yeah.
were here,
For
were
sure.
gonna be here.
We don't want to miss.
But then
yeah.
left and may not know that they come back next month.
okay. Do you want us to redo the paper also, or just the mailings?
I don't know what's the most effective way to.
I think we have, so for the required public noticing, we put the signs up on the property, we do the mailings, and we put it in the paper. When we get comments or calls, it's usually either someone that received the mailing or that saw the sign.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
it's 50. You saved 50 taxpayer dollars today.
All right.
you.
All right. Anything else? Make a motion to table the project until our May meeting. Second by Steve, all in favor? All right, 4 in favor, 0 opposed. All right, that concludes public hearings and final deliberations. And now we're on to other business. And we have one item under other business. This is 530 State Street, Broome County Veterans Center. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Scott Masson with Broome County's Department of Engineering. Tim Bailey, Win McFarland Johnson, 49 Court Street, Binghamton.
All right. What do you think about doing?
So we are looking at developing a veteran center that would be a one-stop source for veteran resources. With a main building of initially 13,000 square foot plus or minus, over 2 levels, plus having 5 duplexes for veteran housing. They would be a tiny home style building. I'll let you go into a little detail about.
Yeah, the tiny homes we have 2 different style units. One's smaller than the other. The smaller unit is 831 square feet and the larger unit is 965 square feet. So fairly small buildings, and there's 2 units for each building.
Oh, wow.
So a total of 10. Correct. Just flip it over.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
$1.566 acres.
Five units. There's two housing units in each home. It's tight, but it's well below the coverage limits. I think we're at 40, about 50% lot coverage. They can go up to 70.
You guys have like. I have.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
and community garden.
And a community garden, right, replace the one that's already there.
All right.
So this.
Yeah.
I believe you're talking more of the federal veterans buildings. What this will be county services plus partner organizations. So we're working with a couple different partners, potentially partner up with them. We're actually building space for them to be able to house into our facility. And we're also in our basement, depending on the bid scenario, we're providing a future space for grow out there as well. That's all ADA compliant and accessible. Also to be noted, the tiny houses are as close to ADA compliant as you can be with a tiny house. The bathrooms are actually ADA accessible. All the doorways are 36-inch wide. We're really taking into consideration that limited mobility potential.
All right.
They're still trying to work that out. Originally, the intent was that it was going to be for homeless veterans, but we're also looking at transitional housing for veterans who are coming back into the area to get reestablished, and maybe some long-term. And I know they're working at getting a case management firm on board to help us with that process. That's correct. There is a Pine Street facility. It is at full capacity right now, and there's still excess needs. So we figured it was a great way to partner this site. We really looked at the site when we did the development to try to bring the residential to the residential side of the site and leave more of the commercial building out towards the higher density residential and commercial area.
Chris, to answer your question, the building on Court Street is the VA clinic, so that's more of a medical facility.
All right. Stormwater management wise, any thoughts on how you're handling that or?
Just had a geotechnical investigation done last week, and very good infiltration rates on that site. So everything was planned to be infiltrated back into the ground.
Great.
Through the use of dry wells and some, retention basins also.
All right.
Stormwater gardens.
Perfect.
Pete, I'm assuming that by having these gentlemen here before us tonight, at some point in the next month or two, they'll be coming before us for official secret determinations, public hearings, site plan approvals, all that stuff.
So the county is actually not subject to our local approval. The only thing that they were. That's a good question. I actually don't know if they could put an actual dump there, but the only thing that they were required to do was to get permission to put openings out onto a city street. So they've been to the traffic board and they got those approved.
All right.
Leave it Always.
So today we're just basically saying, nice job. Or
If you get giving any feedback
any
or
feedback? All right. Nice job. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's great.
That's pretty good.
So as long as we can keep the process moving, our hopeful intent is to be open by Veterans Day 2024.
All right. Yeah. It's surprising there's that much pitch between ones that you could have a 2-story building on that side. I just think of that area of Binghamton as being completely flat, right?
Well, if you ever in the bowling center itself, that was almost a 2-story building as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really interesting. The site's flat at the top, flat on the bottom, and breaks in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
So part of it was the wish of the county executive. He really liked the tiny home concept. And when we started looking at this site, we realized that staying with the tiny homes kind of fits the character of the neighborhood a little bit better than trying to do a big complex there where we're trying to match kind of 2 different neighborhoods almost. You have the high density commercial residential where we're putting our main building, and then you have more of the single family, 2-family residential on the State Street side. So we felt that the tiny homes kind of blended in better to that neighborhood than trying to do a strip complex of apartments.
Cool. Anything, yeah. Any other comments or? Yeah, well, thanks for coming in and presenting it. It looks great.
You're welcome, and thank you for having us.
All right. Now they've laid the groundwork for bringing that dump proposal in.
Yeah. He'll hunt you down.
Like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they lull us into a sense of yeah, complacency and then. All right, that's everything on the agenda for that. Any other business?
Did you make the comment about the minutes? The correction to the minutes? Okay, sorry, I missed that.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to go, any updates on the corner of Floral there and Main Street? All right, yeah. And no one's moving. And no one's moving any wreckers from the towing yard. Yeah. Yeah, it might be headed that.
We can make him comply with his site plan, and he promised not to park those larger vehicles in certain places. You're right, yeah.
Oh.
They're not anchored properly. It was the post. I think he anchored them in asphalt instead of in proper concrete.
Wow. Lift. All right. Gotcha.
There are multiple issues. I think we're gonna have to sort of set a block of time, like months to address that property, which we will do. We want to fix it. And the mayor's aware of it, so.
Okay. All right. Anything else? I saw Joe had put in some information about his availability being pretty limited, or we're fine with that. There's no thoughts of asking him to step down or anything, right?
The mayor is aware of that, and he didn't suggest that we should ask him to step down. So
Excellent.
if he wants to stay, he can stay.
Great.
There'd be no quorum, so we have to cancel the meeting. No action can be taken whatsoever. So we would just try to flag people down as they come in and tell them to, we'll try again next month.
All right. Time to adjourn. All right, motion by Chris, second by everyone. 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you.